employee self-service. And when I think of what most organizations need, what many of them struggle with today, it's very simple stuff. It's answering questions that could be answered by any member of your staff. They just don't have the time to do that. And that's where employee self-service really provides a huge amount of value to you. It takes away a lot of the pain and frustration where people are just trying to get an answer to their question solved. This doesn't just extend to IT, but across your entire organization. Think of how much time is spent with people looking for the information that they know exists, that they know that's out there. When we began this journey with customers over a year ago, we were surprised to find how rapidly, with just a minimal amount of work, we could get a centralized knowledge repository built for them, and how big a win that was for them. So Yvonne is going to take it over and going to walk through the details of how employee self-service works and why it's important for your organization. With that, Yvonne, you want to take the reins?
Thank you, Reed. Thank you for the introduction. So I just want to welcome everyone to today's webinar. As many of you already know, one of the newest solutions for Microsoft Dynamics Service this year is Employee Self-Service. It's a knowledge platform for the enterprise. So what does this mean? On today's agenda, we'll do an Employee Self-Service solution overview, and we'll talk about what it is. We'll also look at some benefits of employee self-service, and we'll talk about how knowledge is surfaced through portals, as well as through productivity applications such as Word and Outlook. One of the most common questions we get is, what is the difference between employee self-service solution and what SharePoint offers? So this is another point that we'll address today. And finally, we will walk through an example of a very successful implementation that Microsoft did for Metro Bank in the UK. So, title of the slide is Problem Employees Can't Find Answers. Gartner and IDC have done some research on employee productivity and found that employees are having greater and greater difficulty finding answers. The challenge for organizations today is to make knowledge accessible and make it easy for employees to solve issues on their own. All of us have had the experience of hunting for information, spending more time than allocated or expected on a certain task because we couldn't find the right information. It's inefficient, time-consuming, can be expensive, and definitely it's frustrating. So today, almost half, or 44% of the time, employees can't find the answers they're looking for. And 61% of employees have to access 4 or more systems on a regular basis when looking for information. So investing in something like knowledge management increases employee productivity significantly. What Gartner and IDC have documented in the 2014 Knowledge Management Survey is that 40% of employees said that productivity could increase by 20 to 30% with effective knowledge management. So Gartner predicts that by 2018, the rapid creation and retrieval of relevant content will be a key attribute of leading enterprises. Knowledge management will become that key differentiator between the leading enterprises.
Yvonne, I think it's important to recognize, when I've chatted with customers, many of them have said, well, okay, people are self-reporting how much their productivity could increase. You know, that's probably not terribly accurate. And so the number I almost always focus on is that second one of employees must access 4 or more systems, because that's a discrete number. People aren't making that up. They're thinking, oh, I have to go into this particular web system. I have to go into this other web system. Maybe I have to go into a legacy system. Maybe I have to, walk over and physically chat with someone or use an out-of-band method like Skype. That's just painful for almost every employee that's having to do that today. So even just consolidating from one system, from 4 systems down to 1, can be seen as a huge driver and motivator of your staff to deploy this solution.
Right, so there's an opportunity to increase employee engagement and productivity by providing all employees accessible and authoritative knowledge to deliver consistent experiences. And if we reduce the number of systems and the length of time that it takes to find that information, that we're definitely increasing productivity. So let's take a look at what ESS is. So Microsoft has the approach to always build a platform to serve a variety of endpoints, such as mobile portal or embedded knowledge, into either Microsoft apps or third-party apps. Employee self-service is a knowledge management solution that provides accessible and consistent knowledge for all employees. And I think some key words out of here, this statement are accessible, consistent, and all employees. So we're saying in HR, in IT, in finance, legal, or pretty much any other functional area within your organization. It helps to deliver the right answer at the right time across all channels. So including portals, mobile devices, productivity tools such as Word and Outlook, and applications. And it enables organizations to create a single source of knowledge for all of employees' needs. It could be used for personal information. So for example, if I'm in sales, I can easily access information about standard contracts or RFP and proposal information that I need. If I'm in marketing, I can easily access new product and new service information. And similarly, if I'm any employee, really, I can access information I need about my benefits or policies and procedures and so on. It could also be used as support in customer service to relay information to customers during calls or in reply to emails. So you would start by building your knowledge platform first, and then on top, through various tools that employees use, is where the information would be surfaced. So as I mentioned earlier, this could be through any mobile device, portal, either intranets, or you can surface it externally, productivity tools, and other applications that you may have developed internally within your organization. So the solution is not just limited to Microsoft tools. Employee self-service helps drive productivity by enhancing existing processes and knowledge, and it empowers employees with unified knowledge to provide a single source of truth across multiple channels. And it makes employees happier, less frustrated, more efficient and effective when they're armed with information to perform their jobs. So let's take a closer look at the benefits of higher employee engagement. If we can help provide the right authoritative content at the right time through tools that employees are already using today, then we should be able to enhance products and services. Now, how do we do this? So by analyzing knowledge queries, you can understand common employee and customer questions and issues and use this knowledge to improve products and services. Customers are better served when improving and tailoring products and services to their needs. We can also help increase employee productivity. So with quick access to consistent and organized knowledge, you can boost employee productivity significantly. In the 2014 knowledge survey that we already mentioned earlier, 40% of employees said that productivity could increase by 20 to 30% with effective knowledge management. Next is that we can improve customer satisfaction. So when employees have access to the right answer at the right time, customers' questions are answered faster and effectively. Customer satisfaction is sure to rise when their issues are solved quickly and without multiple interactions. We can also reduce service efforts. So by providing employees with an effective knowledge base, you're deflecting questions from a high-cost channel, which would be a live person, to a more cost-effective channel, which is self-service, therefore reducing assisted service costs. And finally, support corporate compliance. So by making knowledge available to all employees, organizations can reinforce the adherence to policies and procedures, therefore avoiding costly liabilities. So this really illustrates on a very high level how employee self-service can increase productivity, customer satisfaction, and contribute to organizational improvements by making knowledge accessible to all employees. Now let's take a look at some examples of how you make knowledge accessible to empower this employee engagement. So by implementing internal and or external self-service portals for employees and customers, you make your organizational knowledge easily accessible to all. So this means delivering consistent answers at the right time on any device across the world with real-time access, so 24/7 access. Let's talk about self-service targeting your internal employees. So many of you probably have intranet located inside your environment that may contain some information, and you probably have an HR system on top that also contains some more information. So this one self-service portal is designed to encompass all of those potential questions. So for some of you that may already be familiar somewhat with the solution, ADX portal has now replaced Parature portal. Portal is flexible, so it can look exactly like what your employees are used to seeing today. It's responsive by default, so it would look like it would look the same and be accessible equally through a browser or a mobile device or tablet.
I think
It is also
that's an important point to cover, Giovanna, because we see a lot of customers who have historically spent a large amount of time and energy fashioning, a custom portal to provide this sort of information. And one of the reasons that they did so was that they didn't have the ability to have a truly responsive web design for their staff. They had to pay an external third-party group to build that for them. And heck, at New Signature, we did that for organizations. If you think back 5 or 6 years ago, you had to pay for responsive web design. Now, that's table stakes. Out of the box, the portal is going to be responsive. You don't have to pay for that. And what that means is when you engage a partner like New Signature to help you with this process, we're not spending time designing the custom, the style sheets, for instance, to make it responsive. We're focusing on the knowledge aspect of it, which is where you really need the help on. You don't need to be spending money to have developers coming in and making sure it looks the same on a phone, on a tablet, on a desktop. That's included.
right. It's also updated real time. So as articles and documents are being curated in the back end and moved from drafted to approved, they would instantly appear in the portal. So when employees search through the portal, there is metadata around content of the knowledge base. Content is then classified and relationships between content exist. It's also important to know that it supports HTML5. So your organization can embed videos, pictures, applications, or training collateral, anything, really. Employees can subscribe to content, and articles can get proactively pushed out as well. And there's this concept of deflection. So when an employee wants to submit a ticket, for example, there is something that called deflection. So the system looks at keywords and starts to provide answers before the ticket is even submitted. So if you could imagine this, you got a job as a bank teller and you have had your orientation already, but there are some tasks you may not run into until enough time has passed that you may not even remember how to do a month later. So a month later, a customer comes in with a request to transfer some foreign currency funds and you have never done it before. So instead of asking colleagues or managers, what you're empowered because you have access to a system that actually contains the information where you can find the process of and how to do this through the portal. Let's now take a look at some other ways how we can access this underlying knowledge base. So we've done portal. We're going to look at some through Office 365, Outlook, and Word. So with employee self-service, we can now empower every employee with the knowledge they need in their everyday productivity tools, such as Outlook and Word. So by integrating knowledge directly into your everyday productivity tools, employees can access knowledge articles while composing messages in Outlook or creating documents in Word. So this enables employees to be more efficient and deliver fast and consistent responses without having to switch between applications, which is what we talked about earlier. That's one of the major benefits, I think, emphasized by Reed. So if we take a look at Word, so when writing statements of work, for example, or proposals, contracts, consistency is very important. So today, we try to store common answers in templates or documents. Now, if you could imagine this when writing a document and you need to write a paragraph in Word while writing your document in Word on a particular topic, you can highlight the subject in your document and the words will appear by default in the knowledge search lookup box. You hit search, and the system searches within the knowledge base to bring back a definitive list of answers. So this is not a list of files that you may be used to that may have some information. This is actually a definitive list of answers that surfaces. You can pick an insertion point within your Word file, and the full article is then inserted. So it could be text, it could be pictures, it could be video or audio. Now let's talk briefly about how we can surface this knowledge through Outlook. So the number one efficiency issue when working in Outlook is the ability to go from Outlook to other systems to get the information you need to go back to stakeholders. When working in Outlook, the solution will help you search based on the text that is contained within your email. So it's incredibly easy to use. All you would do is hit reply. You would look for an add-in button to access the knowledge base, and in a similar manner search for information and add to the body of the email by a single click. It works in traditional Outlook client as well as the web app. Now suppose we need to send someone a long response that may be a process. So you need to outline a certain process and reply in your email. So this could be very time consuming if you have to recreate or spend hours looking for it. It wouldn't be efficient. So this is one of the ways where knowledge base comes in really handy. And if you're replying to a customer, this can really lead to great customer service if you reply quickly, and time and cost savings as well. And the best part is that suggestions can be made for articles and information to be added to the knowledge base. So these answers are fully curated, and there is a team that reviews and approves the suggestions. And at that point, then they're added to the knowledge base.
I think that's worth diving into a little bit, because that's where we see a friction point with many of the organizations that we work with that have tried to and struggled with knowledge management. Many of them have historically taken one of two approaches: either the more top-down driven, fully curated, but no one can make suggestions approach, an official, hey, this is how the information is gathered, and a lot of effort around that, which is good in terms of making sure that everyone is speaking in a common language, but it tends to be a little bit awkward for organizations that are a little bit more quick moving, or when times or programs change. And if there's not the ability to have people suggest articles, it can be seen as something that doesn't get a lot of utilization. The flip side is the more kind of bottom-up wiki approach, where everyone can make changes to the information. And the danger there is that not only does it make it uncomfortable for executive stakeholders to approve of such a project, frequently people will go in and make changes that may not be correct. And if you don't have a form of curation in place to say it's great for people to make changes, but ultimately someone needs to approve those changes, if you don't have that, effectively you're going back to a wild, wild west scenario where the true knowledge is really only held by a few people, and almost everyone else has an incomplete picture of what the official position is. You certainly wouldn't do that for legal reviews, and you shouldn't do it for the sorts of statements of work or sales materials or marketing materials that you work on. In general, it's always best to have a blended approach of both curation and suggestions.
Correct. Perfect. Thank you, Reid. And I also wanted to take a quick look at just another example of how we can benefit by having this knowledge base. So another benefit is of employee self-service is faster onboarding. So if you imagine a new employee having access to everything through an employee portal. Now imagine if the same portal would contain all the relevant job questions that an employee can learn in a few hours of orientation. So this way, the employee can feel empowered by having access to correct information, and the organization can be certain that the employee will always find newest and most authoritative information, and hence learn quickly. So now we're going to address the question that we're often asked. What is the difference between employee self-service and SharePoint? So a simple answer to this would be that they're complementary solutions and not a replacement for each other. ESS contains, or employee self-service, contains current authoritative knowledge that is specifically created to answer questions. And SharePoint is enterprise-wide repository for all types of information and content, or document management system, if you will. So enterprises need both knowledge management and content management platforms. Search in SharePoint will likely result in a large number of matches that you have to sort through to find your answers. And knowledge management solutions use sophisticated search logic that considers context and relevance, that surfaces definitions, concepts, and more focused information. So knowledge management solutions typically search through far smaller volume of knowledge articles than SharePoint searches through. And this results in a more relevant and direct answers to questions. So ESS, or Employee Self-Service, is a dedicated out-of-the-box knowledge management solution. It is possible, however, to build knowledge management system on SharePoint, but it would take some custom development effort. And I guess as our takeaway, the two are complementary solutions that actually work well together. And as I mentioned earlier, I wanted to take you through a successful implementation example. So Metro Bank has been around in Britain for more than 100 years. And with its unique customer-focused retail business, Metro Bank is reinventing the rules of retail banking today and making every effort to deliver service that is simple and convenient. As all customer-centric businesses know, this focus must be conveyed from the top down and inside out. That's why one of their key initiatives was first to deliver more convenience to their internal customers or their employees through a replacement of their internal knowledge base called the Metropedia, which provided information on everything from how to open an account for a customer to personal loans to fraud protection. Use of the previous version of Metropedia had been on the decline due to dated, inconsistent and sometimes hard to find answers and information, and then Metro Bank in turn looked at employee self-service solution. So for this customer-focused knowledge base, Microsoft got Metro Bank up and running quickly with features that inspired employee adoption and frequent use. So there was some customization to meet the organizational search and functionality requests and requests of internal customers, Metro Bank's employees. Now, one point that I want to bring up, that adoption was very quick, as training is not necessary. It's very easy and intuitive to use the solution. So it's easy to use it through productivity tools that we mentioned before in the portal. So there's ease also in creating and editing content in the solution. Real-time ratings and feedback to make quick improvements and to add content. And a customer service focus that made front-line agents feel more important, empowered, and that they were now driving and delivering the best, most current and consistent answers across every channel. What I want to do now is take a quick look at employee self-service pricing. So there's a dedicated SKU for employee self-service. In addition to per employee per month license fee noted here, the customer must have at least one enterprise user SKU to set up the knowledge base, so administrative license, if you will. In the context of employee self-service, it provides portal and knowledge administration functions. Now, what I want to emphasize here is that if this solution is something that you're interested in, you're really looking at 95% of the users paying the $3 user per month fee versus the few administrators that would be paying the $150 per month fee license. Microsoft Dynamics Employee Self-Service is a cloud-based solution. But the deployment does not need to be company-wide or on Office 365. So ESS SKU not only provides access to knowledge, but it also provides the ability for the employee to escalate to assisted service via chat or submission of tickets. And in summary, so why employee self-service? Siloed, disjointed information doesn't cut it anymore. Employees need accessible and consistent knowledge wherever and whenever they engage. Microsoft Employee Self-Service makes authoritative, relevant knowledge accessible to all employees. It is democratized knowledge for all employees wherever they are across all the channels that we have addressed before, so multiple channels from one single source of truth. And it helps increase employee productivity, improves customer satisfaction, and reduces service effort, as well as it enhances products and services, and supports corporate compliance and reinforces adherence to policies. So it's the right answers at the right time when you need it. So with this, I conclude today's webinar, and now I'm going to turn it over to you and your questions. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanna. If you have any questions, you can place them in the chat window. Otherwise, we will turn it back over to Reed. Reed?
Yeah, great to chat with everyone. Definitely encourage you, please throw questions in the chat window if you have any. If you'd rather ask your questions afterwards, we're also happy to take those questions via email or over Skype one-to-one, however you want to do it. I can't emphasize enough, thank you so much, Giovanna, for walking through the employee self-service platform. It really is something that every single member of your organization would love to have today. Every customer I talk to, even before this solution was out there, wanted this for themselves. If you chat with your executive team, your C-level execs, regular staff, almost every one of them always has an opinion about why, if they were in charge, they would build a web page that would have all of the answers to the questions people asked on a daily basis. So it's a known need. It's something that every single individual probably thinks would be a great idea. In the past, the customers that we have seen that have gone with some solutions have often spent so much time on the design and the UI and the UX, the where does this button rest and what color is it going to be. They've spent so much time doing that and making it responsive that when it comes to the actual knowledge surfaced within it, they've either not had enough budget to provide a compelling set of answers, or they've just run out of time. And with employee self-service from Microsoft, the focus really is first and foremost on that knowledge. You can walk to your IT team and get probably a list of 30 questions in 5 minutes. You could walk to HR and get a list of 30 questions that people ask in 5 minutes. Going through and getting that knowledge is something that is not a difficult process to do. Getting it baked up and thrown into this portal where everyone can access it inside your organization is a huge value to you. I don't see any questions that have come through, so we're going to let people have a little bit of time back, which is probably great for everyone on the call. If you do have follow-up questions, we'd love to connect with each and every one of you. I know that our team is always eager to go in and walk you through, and we can even show you a demonstration of what a sample portal would look like so that you can see what those question and answers look like for your specific industry vertical. So thanks everyone for making the time, and for future questions, just send a note to info@newsignature.com.